Hello, super coaches. Tom Sangster here. It is the Late Mail podcast for round 11. I've got some breaking news for you right off the bat. About 50 minutes ago or so, I released the dual position updates for next round. So these will flush through in the game when lockout opens after this weekend. They're the round 12 updates. There are three big talking points out of it. The first, you probably know if you've been watching this show or keeping track of the news, that Lycan King Togia is all but certain to earn dual status. So he will be at halfback and 5'8" when the game opens on Monday, provided he takes the field at halfback this weekend, which he's been named there. It appears a mere formality. The probably more controversial and tougher decisions were on Zach Hosking and Dylan Egan. Now, both of those guys are highly unlikely to get dual status unless there's a positional change over the weekend, which could happen. Otherwise, you can pretty much rule them out for dual position status for next week, which, look, it was a tough decision. It's unfortunate. I'll give a full explanation later in the show. But for now, send through your questions and comments, guys. I'll get to those in a sec. We've got a big show. No game tonight, obviously. The first game's on Friday, but we still stick to the same time each week. Send through your questions. I'll go through my trades, the captaincy options for this week, and, of course, I'll reveal the explanations on the DPP guys, plus the full list of them as well later in the show. Heaps of questions coming through. What's Daniel got to say? What do you think of Horse to Hosking for this week? So that's Cory Hosking, obviously, to Hosking. So the first part of that equation is Hosking a good buy? And yes, even though he's not going to get dual status, I think he is. At 500K, that's unders for him. If he stays starting on the edge, which he should, given that Matty Nicholson is out long term, he should be able to average mid-60s. That means, he should be going up to, he should be a 650K player, maybe even more if he can get some attacking stats. He's got some injury history, which is the biggest worry, but he plays 12, he plays 13. I think it's a really, really strong trade. The second part of that question is, do you sell Cory Hosking? Now, I think that Cory Hosking will get named for Origin. It is highly likely he gets named for Origin, but he's far from an absolute lock-in for the Maroons either. So I'm going to wait until next week. Obviously, Origin teams come through officially next Monday, but we'll have them up on site. If you've got a subscription, you'll be able to see basically the locked-in teams on Sunday night. So keep an eye out for that. But I think Hosking will be named. I'll be waiting, though. I'm not going to sell him this week, and I'll keep that up my sleeve to see what I do next week, because there could be some shocks. We've got a pretty good idea of what's going on with Origin sides, but there still could be some shocks, and there always is some shocks. But yeah, keep an eye on the site Sunday night. If you get on either the Code website, Daily Telegraph, Courier Mail, the Origin teams will have essentially the 17s locked in. The squads will be locked in, basically. Just the numbers on their back might change on the official announcement on Monday. So keep an eye out for that, guys. On to, what's Adam saying? Would you buy Sharp or Garrick this week, or sell Cleary and get both? First of all, I don't think Cleary is a sell. Not in my situation anyway, because I've got Hines as backup, and he's pretty good backup. I know both of them could be out in 13 if Cleary doesn't back up, but that's what your AE is for. That's what your flex is for, etc. Do you buy Sharp? Yeah, I love Sharp as a buy. I love Garrick as a buy. I love both of them. They're great guys to get you through round 12, which is next week, the first big buy, which is going to be a big moving week for all overall super coaches. Herbie or Garrick for this week? Look, I love both of them. I don't think you can go wrong. The buy in 13 for Herbie is not ideal. Yeah, let's have a look here and see what's going on with Garrick. His buy schedule is quite good as well. You can go in here if you want to check anyone's schedule. Just go in to this part here and we'll see his schedule there. I mean, it's good. He plays those first two buys. The 16 buy is not ideal, but that's not a big buy week. So Ruben Garrick is a great purchase. I'd probably have him ahead of Herbie Farnworth. And as you can see in my team right now, I've got Garrick there, but no Farnworth. So my opinion is actually backed up with what I'm doing for one of the first times ever. Sangster, what are your future plans with your current war chest? That is a good question because clearly it has been noticed that I've got 532K sitting in the skyrocket, which is huge. So the reason I've got that, I'll go through my trades for this week. So I feel a little bit dirty about this first trade. Mamazelos is just sitting there, not doing anything. He's just sitting there collecting dust, really, while he's injured for 6 or so weeks. I can sell him for Riley Smith, make $105,000. I think that's all right because Smith covers 12, he covers 13. He's playing big minutes, should average sort of mid-40s, maybe up to 50 over the next few weeks. So I'm pretty happy with that trade. I'll make money off the trade and then make some money off Riley Smith as well. So it's obviously I'm going a week late on Riley Smith, which is why I feel a bit dirty about it. But sometimes you just have to admit that you're wrong in SuperCoach every now and again. So that's why I'm doing that trade. And then the second one, I've got Hosking in for Marzu. That's with some dual position switches with Dylan Lucas going down into the back line. I've talked about Hosking a lot this week, so I probably don't need to talk him up too much, just to say that he is really underpriced. And then Marzu, of course, is out injured probably for a month or so with that knee injury. So, yeah, to answer your question, I have a massive war chest there ready to rock. And next week, I'm going to make some big moves. I think Tedesco is going to have to come in, probably for Ponga. That could change a little bit down the track if Tom Trbojevic misses Origin selection. I think he will get named on the wing for the Blues, but if he doesn't, then he becomes pretty much a straight swap for Ponga at fullback there, which is very tempting. So look, I've got that 500K sitting there. I'm not going to do anything with it yet until Origin teams are named. Obviously, it's the big buy next week, so it's really important to have as many numbers on the park as possible. So while you can get a little bit of advantage by jumping the gun on some players, ideally you wait until next week until we have the full picture on Origin selection. Is Teddy a must next week from Mark Lawless? If he misses Origin, it's really, I wouldn't say he's a must because he is very expensive. I'll just bring him up here. I believe he is, look, he's almost 900K. Yeah, here he is, 900K. The break even, if you ever want to know the break even number, SuperCoach Plus, $29.95 for the year. I can see that it's projecting that he's going to rise by 37K, which is, it's biggish, but it's nothing significant for a guy of his caliber. So I'll be waiting till next week just to make sure, just to see. Who knows, Dylan Edwards could go down over the weekend. Laurie Daly might backtrack on last year's team. I don't think that's going to happen. If Edwards is fit, I think he plays. Maybe Teddy gets a bench spot. Who knows? Maybe he's in the squad somewhere. We don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, I don't think Teddy is an absolute must at that price. He'll be over 900K for next week, so definitely not a must. But with his buy schedule, he plays all three big buys. If he misses Origin, then I think he is a really good purchase. The only thing holding me back is potential Origin selection plus that big price. We'll go a question. Surely Egan is a dual. Right. So this is obviously the big talking point. I promised it at the start of the show that I'd run through the reasons why Egan and Hosking have not got dual position. I'll start with Hosking. So, wrong side. The stats on him are that he's played 3 games off the bench, mainly as a middle, mostly, plus he started 1 game at prop over the weekend. So he's right on the verge of earning that dual position status at 2RF with prop added. But with Matty Nicholson going down over the weekend, it means he is now set for an extended stint in that edge back row position. So he'll stay there for another 3 months or, for however long Matty Nicholson is injured for. If Hosking was named at prop again this week, he would have got dual status because he's got that game time off the bench playing in the middle, plus he'd have 2 starts there as well. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, with Nicholson going down, it looks like he's going to play back row. That's good for his SuperCoach value, but it's not good for his DPP status. I don't think it matters whether he's dual position or not. I still think he's a really good purchase for this week. And then finally, to answer your question, Nathan, Dylan Egan was a tough one too because he starts on the edge, then shifts to the middle later in the game. But is he playing prop or lock when he shifts to the middle? It's hard to know. And at the end of the day, it's hard to name someone in a new position for SuperCoach when they've never started in that spot before. Plus, of course, they had the injuries to Emre Gula and Toby Couchman recently, which means Egan's named to start on the edge again this week. So how much time does he spend in the middle this weekend? There was just too many red flags here for us. So we've decided not to go with dual status on Dylan Egan, even though, which is a blow for a lot of SuperCoaches. He's owned by 50,000 SuperCoaches. And it's also a blow on Hosking, given that he is the second most popular purchase this week. But they're the decisions. They were tough, but I think they're the right decisions. And not just made by me, by a panel of about 6 people. So if you think we've got it wrong, blame them, not me. Let's do some origin selections. So we don't know. I'll preface this by saying I don't have my ear to the ground like a lot of the journos do in this building and up at the Courier Mail, etc., who are working the phones constantly trying to work out who's going to be in this team. But I do speak to a lot of those guys, and I think we've got a pretty good idea of what the Origin teams will be come Sunday night when we get essentially the leaked teams come through, and then on Monday they get revealed. Revealed officially. So generally, Pete Bedell at the Courier Mail has the Queensland team, certainly the squad by Sunday night. So we should have that up on the site then. And then we always have someone stationed outside the New South Wales hotel so we can see who's coming into camp for them. And we generally have a pretty good idea of the squad, the 20-odd people who have been named, and often what numbers they're going to have on their back. But that's usually the only thing that we get wrong on that Sunday night. So we'll know the players who are in the squads by Sunday night. So keep an eye on the website. In terms of the big SuperCoach selections out of Origin, Terrell May is looking increasingly unlikely. I think the guy that this really hinges on is whether they go with Jake Trbojevic essentially as a cheerleader, a guy who comes on, plays 20 minutes. He's there to be around the squad rather than to actually play decent minutes. If they pick him, it's going to be hard to get Terrell May into that team, which while it is not good for Terrell May, and I think he deserves a spot, it's good for SuperCoach. I know he wasn't playing round 12 anyway, but it means he'll certainly play 13, and it's good going forward. Tom Trbojevic, I think he will play on the wing for the Blues, but if he doesn't, he then becomes a really good SuperCoach purchase. The follow-on effect from that as well is that if Turbo does play on the wing, then one of Lomax or To'o is going to miss out. It also means that Jacob Carraz, who has been sensational since returning from injury and is really popular for SuperCoach, it means that Carraz won't make the team, and he's probably 2 injuries off making the team, to be honest. So he's a pretty safe SuperCoach purchase. Also, Cory Hosking, as I mentioned, I'm expecting him to be named, but it's not a lock. If I was going to put a percentage value on it, I'd say he's 75% chance of being named for Origin. So I'm not making a move for SuperCoach this week. I'll wait until next week. And then finally, Ponga, he's certain to be named for the Maroons. So I think you do need to find a way to get him out of your team. Unfortunately, the issue is it's only worth 540-odd K. So who do you sell for? If you go up to Teddy, it's going to cost a lot of cash. Quickly onto late mail. There's not a heap as of yet because obviously we're starting the round on Friday, not tonight. Zach Lomax looks like he'll play, so he'll push for Origin selection. Lindsay Collins, the official word from Trent Robertson, the coach, is that he'll be close this week, so he could push for Origin selection as well. Sandon Smith's definitely back, so you can lock him in if you're only for SuperCoach, as a lot of people do. Horsburgh is definitely back, so he'll play. It's just the big factor with him is obviously whether he makes Origin. And then Harry Grant looking to play as well. He's got a lot of hoops to jump through. So we should know hopefully on Friday whether he'll play or not. And William Warbrick, also at the Storm, still yet to return to training due to that concussion. So that is, bad news for him, but guys who got on Sewer far longer a couple of weeks ago are laughing because he's locked in for a spot for a fair amount of time. Captaincy picks this week. Let's go into SuperCoach Plus and see what everyone's doing. As I said, SuperCoach Plus, $29.95 for the year. I'm going to sort by players ranked in the top 10%, so we'll see what the best SuperCoaches are doing. Most popular captain. So Pappenhausen yesterday was at 46% captaincy. Obviously, that was high because when he plays at Amy Park, which he did last week, he's an automatic captain. He's not playing at Amy Park this week. He's playing against the Sharks at Shark Park, which is a pretty tough matchup. So he's coming down very quickly. I think he's an avoid as captain this week, given that matchup. The Storm are really, really good at home, but they're struggling on the road this year. So I'm saying avoid Pappenhausen. I expect that figure of 30 to come down, maybe even to 20 or lower. Scott Drinkwater, I do like as a captain up against Manly. He loves playing at home. His record up there is great. For the first time, as you can see here, I've got the C next to Payne Haas. For the first time this year, I've decided to go boring. And the reason for that is not because I love Payne Haas's matchup or anything like that. It's a decent matchup, Dragons and it's at Suncorp. The issue is that you look at all the other captaincy options this week, and they've all got problems. There's issues surrounding all of them. As I said, I don't like Pappenhausen not playing at home. Nathan Cleary is on the bye. You've got, Nico Hines coming up against the Storm. Terrell May could be a decent option playing for an Origin spot. Drinkwater, I think, is a pretty decent option. But really, it's just you got Tedesco who's coming up against the Bulldogs, who are the best defense in the comp. So really, it's just via process of elimination that I've ended up going with Payne Haas. I could easily switch it up to Scotty Drinkwater at some stage. On to the VCs. Kalen Ponga, if you own him, I think he's almost a lock-in as VC, either him or Fletcher Sharp. You can see they're number 1 and 2 on the list. They've got a good matchup. So they're the first game of the round, which is always good for SuperCoach. Plus they are playing the Knights. Sorry, they're playing the Eels at home. The Eels obviously coming last on the ladder, so they could go absolutely gangbusters in that first game of the round. So I think you pretty much have to lock one of those two in if you own them. On to some questions now. Pardon. Matt saying VC on Lucas. I don't hate that at all. He's a really good option in that same clash as Ponga and Fletcher Sharp, etc. Is Latrell going to get DPP? Sangster? No, he's not. So he started 2 games at 5'8", then half a game there as well. So he's essentially 2.5 games at 5'8". It's not quite enough to earn dual status, particularly given he's been named at fullback this week, and particularly given that Wayne Bennett is on the record saying that he is the fullback for the club. So that's the reasoning behind that. Terrell May Origin snub will go big. Yeah, I think he's a genuine captaincy option this week, as he is every week. On to what's Nathan saying? Would you buy Horsburgh if he misses out on Origin selection? Absolutely not. You shouldn't be buying Horsburgh this week. It's a matter of whether to hold Horsburgh or not. And as I said, I'll be holding for this week and wait and see what happens with Origin selection. Thoughts on Karaz getting the nod? I don't think he will. I think he's probably 2 injuries away from a spot at the Blues. A lot hinges on Tom Trbojevic. Put it this way. The centres are locked in. They have to pick Stephen Crichton. Latrell Mitchell is almost as automatic as that selection. Then you've got 2 wing spots. So you've got Tommy Turbo or Lomax all going for 2 wing spots. And then Karaz is probably behind them. So, yeah, I think he's 2 injuries at least off Origin berth. I think he would be great in that arena. His game suits it perfectly. But I think he can be pretty safe for now in Karaz not playing Origin. But who knows what happens on the weekend. Lomax might not play. Someone could get injured. Anything could happen. So it still could happen. Does Fletcher Hunt – so lots of questions about Fletcher Hunt. Does he play – in place of Marju for his whole injury, you reckon, Sangster? First of all, I'll be waiting a week on Fletcher Hunt. It's way too early to go on him. he has a good chance to replace Marzu for the whole injury. The other factor is that Ponga's out next week for Origin, so he could play fullback as well. But I'll be taking a look this weekend. I think it's way too early to go on him. And selling Marju to Tapane, good trade. I really like that. Tapane's good. He covers 12, covers 13, doesn't play Origin. He's killing it. His work rate's through the roof. He's got attacking stats. I really do like that trade. I think that's sensational. I'll finally run through a couple of the other DPPs. Hosking is a no or an unlikely, as I mentioned before. Dylan Egan, unlikely. Latrell Mitchell, highly unlikely unless he plays a bit of 5'8" over the weekend. The other guy I'm getting lots of questions about is Keon Kaloa-Matangi. Now, he will play his second game at prop this weekend. That's not enough. You need to start there 3 times, so he can't earn it this time around, but we will have more updates to the DPPs come around 18. Finally, you got guys like Ewan Aitken who'll have centre wing added, so not a big thing for Classic, but certainly big for draft. Isaiah Papali'i gets front row, so another big one for draft. Cobbo gets fullback added, so good news for him. And Luke Garner has become a bit of a draft option now after picking up centre wing status. We'll call it a day there. Good luck on the weekend, guys. Hope that the Origin teams go your way on Sunday night. Good luck to everyone on the weekend, and we'll catch you next week for the Teams podcast on Tuesday. See